Welcome to On the Way to School, your 6-minute daily boost for educators and administrators. I'm Christopher S. Dennis, and today, let's elevate our journey together. Hey there, here we are again on the way to school. On this lovely Tuesday, I want to talk about more of a concept, maybe it's a construct that a friend of mine, Benji, said a while ago while we were discussing something. He's a buddy of mine over there at Bowdoin College. And, he talked about how, sometimes leaders have an entrepreneurial kind of a point of view, and they want to go and create all these different opportunities and modalities for people to utilize their wisdom. And he made a comment that, a speech isn't always a curriculum. And I find that so true. I'll expand that to say, a conversation isn't always a curriculum. And what do I mean by that? So I think there are often times where people will meet with you or engage with you one-on-one and find a lot of substance from your interaction. And, interactions are important because you help people take the time to tell their story and be heard, and deep listening is really important. So for me, there are times where, and we've talked about coaching on the podcast a couple times, but I think there are times where you've engaged with somebody and you've got absolute value instantly from one conversation, and you can actually apply some things that can be revolutionary. I can think of, two people who've shared wisdom with me, and I didn't need anything else other than what they said to activate it. And it didn't mean that I needed to continuously go back to them to get reassurance on the thing they've already said. They said it. It was important. I was able to take it and apply it. Okay. One of those things came from a colleague of mine who basically, said that, you've got wisdom already to apply. You can be a consultant based on your expertise. Go for it. And, for me, that unlocked the barrier of overqualifying or over-credentialing myself to understand how to be helpful to people. Essentially, it's like, hey, know what problems you want to solve, offer those solutions to those problems. Like, it's not rocket science. That same person also said that he would help or encourage his staff to, job hunt every summer. So that way they could ensure that they were, on his team because they wanted to be there, not because they were unsure of their value. Okay. Another person told me that, I had a political blind spot in terms of being effective in organizations. He said, hey, you want to do well, and you want to do right by people. And I hope that doesn't get in the way because you have a political blind spot. And what he was saying is that everybody doesn't have the same intentions for the outcome as you do. And if you are unaware of the landscape of why people do what they do, you're going to be at a disadvantage in the authenticity of what you're actually trying to accomplish. Okay. So those are examples of just one-off conversations that I had with people who I had relationships with that offered really great insight to me that I could apply to my leadership journey. But sometimes you can have a great conversation with people or with a person, and then you decide, you know what, I want to keep working with you. I want to do more. I want to keep gleaning this wisdom. And you may take on that person as your first coaching client. And once you go down a path, you may come to realize that, okay, we're kind of done with our work. We didn't need 10 sessions to get to a destination, but now you're engaged in this professional coaching relationship or mentorship. And as the mentor or the coach, you are disinterested, you're disengaged, you're not finding ways to give impact. And that could be because, you thought the conversation meant that you had a curriculum of support to offer this person. And you have to be very, very clear on what you're able to offer, because once somebody wants to continue a relationship and go forward on a path, if you don't have a scope of what that game plan is, you're going to waste both of your time and oftentimes leave that relationship less, it's not going to be as healthy as it should be because you allowed something to be a relationship of consequence when it should have just been a relationship based on engagement and mutual support where there were no other expectations on the back end. Every speech, every conversation is not a curriculum. And even as you set out to be a leader, the frameworks that you offer from a leadership perspective, you don't want to double down on something that is not a comprehensive scope and arc. So there are a couple things to think about when you're trying to determine, should you follow a course of action, either it be it, as a mentor, a coach, or a support with someone, let alone when money exchanges hands. But let's just say someone wants you to be their mentor or their guide. There are 3 things I think you should definitely think about along that path. Is this engagement or the wavelength that you have with this person relevant to their goals? Okay. What you have to offer, is it going to actually enhance their knowledge or skills in a particular area? And how can you actually measure that? Okay. So relevance to their goals. With that, it's also what type of depth do you have in this area? And then how rigorous is it? Do you just have explanations of your own experiences that you're going to just hope someone else can understand? Because they're not you. They don't have the skills you have. So if all you're doing is teaching from your experience and sharing that, how well thought out has your own journey been so that you can even teach it to somebody so that they can actually find the applicable steps? Okay. So if you remember in my story about just even having a political blind spot, I didn't get any insights on what to do about that. It was like, okay, I see you, I see how you move, and I see that you're missing something. Here's what I see you're missing. That was it. Okay. Had he offered to go and kind of mentor me and guide me, who knows what that would have been. But I also knew that I can take something and learn from it and apply it. And I don't need to sit down and overthink it. Okay. So what is the depth of your knowledge in this area? And then lastly, it applies to the first 2 points. Is it adaptable? Is the conversation or this speech adaptable to a scope and sequence of a learning experience, of a coaching experience? How do you check for understanding? Like, if it's not adaptable for instruction, that's okay. All right. Don't overcommit to a level of support and a level of development that isn't really there. And sometimes it's absolutely okay just to give, feedback or support and walk away, because carrying the responsibility of being a mentor or a guide has unintended journey. It's an unintended journey with unintended consequences if you're not careful. Okay. So just some things to think about. If people say you give great advice or you've got all these good things going, that's cool. Doesn't necessarily mean that you need to turn that into a curriculum. And maybe your calling is just to listen and be a good listener, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you've got a curriculum to offer. So just something to think about as people offer you feedback and even as you go through your own journey. But hopefully you're having a great day and seize the day on the way to school. Take care.
Thanks for joining me on the way to school. Stay inspired, stay motivated, and keep making a difference. I'm Christopher S. Dennis. See you tomorrow.